Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is the top of the hour, and we should probably get started. We do have a little bit of material to get through. This won't take the full hour, probably about 40 minutes or so. But what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be going through the MLS-Touch application and its sister app called MLS Client. But I'll get into that in a few moments. First, I wanted to introduce you to Brent Adams. He's on the line as well. He's going to be working in the background answering any questions that you may have. If you're not familiar with who Brent is, you may have heard the name. He is our resident realist expert. He has another realist session actually coming up next week. So I encourage you to go to the Matrix homepage. Just on the dashboard, if you go to the news and alerts and select the latest and only news item as it turns out, just select that, and you can sign up for one of Brent's sessions. So he's actually in the background answering questions today for MLS Touch. So if you do have any questions as I do go through this over the next 40 minutes or so, feel free to just jump onto your questions and answer panel that's included with the GoToWebinar, and and he'll get back to you right away with an answer. I am Dave Marsh. I'm actually, you may recognize the voice. I'm actually one of the original developers of the Matrix system. We're not going to be spending any time in Matrix today, but as you're going to see as we go through MLS Touch, it is synced with Matrix in a number of ways, and I'm going to be covering that. So as an agent, you're going to be able to essentially work in Matrix and work on MLS Touch and have those two systems connected. So I'll get into all that. But before I do, I wanted to mention that this is being recorded. And if you're not familiar with some of the other recordings that I've done over the last couple of weeks, if you go to, again, your Matrix homepage or on the dashboard and open up the news and alerts, you're going to see a little link to the help section. So if you select any of those links from any of our previous sessions, that will take you to the recorded versions of those sessions. So the bottom line is this is being recorded. If you do have to step away for any reason, feel free to just reference back to the news and alerts, and you can select the link, and that will take you to the help section. Or, of course, you can go directly to the help section, and you'll find it in the recorded webinars panel. So there's a little recorded webinars panel here. I'm just going to pull it up on the screen here so you can actually see what I'm referring to. So you'll see in the help section, there's a recorded webinar section here. And if you just select that, you'll see a collection of all of the recorded webinars. So again, I've done 3 so far, and this would be the 4th. So you can expect to see this recorded session listed here later on this afternoon. And of course, Brent is going to be doing his next week, and we have an eProperty Watch session coming up as well with Keith Hensley, and you will see those two listed here as well. So again, just in case you are not able to attend either of those sessions, feel free just to reference back to this page here, and you can review them. One of the benefits of joining one of the live sessions is you are able to ask questions in real time. So I do encourage you, if you have any questions about Realist or eProperty Watch coming up, definitely feel free to join those sessions. And again, you're able to ask questions in real time with the product experts. But as I mentioned, this is going to be focused entirely on MLS Touch and its sister app called MLS Client. So what you see on your screen in front of you on the left-hand side is the MLS Touch app. And I'm not going to get into necessarily downloading it because it's already been downloaded to my device. But if you are interested in downloading this for yourself, if you haven't already, simply go to your app store. So I have a Samsung device, so I go to the Play Store. You may have an Apple device, so you go to your iTunes store. But the bottom line is you're going to do a search for MLS Touch. So just search for MLS Touch and load it in onto your mobile device, and of course you'll be able to do exactly and see exactly what I see here. So I wanted to take this right from the very beginning, so again that you are able to see exactly what I did to load it up. So in this case, what I've done is loaded it, and it's opened up, and you're going to have to do a search for your state. So in this case, of course, it would be Montana. Next, of course, we have a few different accounts in Montana, so you're going to choose Big Sky and just confirm that. And then you're going to use your credentials. So whatever credentials you use typically to log in, you're going to use those. And I've already got mine loaded here. And you can see now it's opened up into the dashboard. So this is the MLS-Touch dashboard. And we're going to go over all these little tiles that you see here in, well, more towards the end, actually. Some of these are repetitive. The functionality you're going to see as we actually go through MLS-Touch. I consider these more just quick access tiles, some of these. So just very, very quick, so you don't actually have to select a couple of different buttons to get to where you want to go. You have quick access directly from those tiles. So what we're going to do first is just concentrate on the menu along the bottom. And of course, we are on the home screen right now, or the dashboard. So I'm going to jump over to the search directly right away. And of course, this is where you're going to do your searching from. Now, there's a few different ways of doing a search, and I'm going to cover all of those coming up shortly. But by default, it's going to show you absolutely everything for the entire system. So I'm going to take this from the perspective that I'm doing a search for a specific client of mine. And typically what you'll want to use MLS-Touch for is as a companion app to Matrix. Generally speaking, MLS-Touch really benefits you if you're mobile or if you're on the move and you're away from your desktop or your laptop computer and you just want to do searches while you're on the go. That's the perfect tool for searching. And again, we have some other features and functionality that I'm going to be covering through this, but the bottom line is MLS-Touch is really directed toward the agent that's on the move. And that's essentially why I call this a companion app to Matrix, because you can, well, start things in Matrix, jump in your vehicle, and continue essentially from where you left off. So that's what we're doing here. Is we're just going to continue on with maybe some searching that I do with a specific client of mine. In this case, it's going to be my client Dwayne. So again, by default, I open it up and I see absolutely everything. But of course, my client Dwayne isn't necessarily interested in absolutely everything in the entire system. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a regular criteria search, and you're going to see a little filters option right at the very, very top. And I'm going to select that. And this is, of course, where I'm going to enter in the criteria that Dwayne, my client, is looking for. So in this case, he's really primarily only interested in single-family residential properties. But of course, I can select multiple property types if I'd like. At this point, I'm just going to keep it with residential. And he's not necessarily interested in renting a property. So I'm just going to keep this for sale only. And a price range, let's say he's looking for properties between maybe, let's say 500,000 and we'll keep it fairly high, say $1 million. And we're not going to go through all of these criteria, but let's say for now, just interested in active properties. And just to show you, there are some additional criteria. If you do want to drill down even further, just select the additional criteria option. But for now, I'm just going to do a search for all of the existing criteria that I used. Now, again, Dwayne's not necessarily interested in the entire MLS system. So we have a tool here that's going to allow me to target or specify specific areas. So I'm just going to select the map shape tool and draw just a very quick area of the more specific area that Dwayne's interested in. Now, of course, now we're down to 57 results based on that. Now, if I'd like, I can continue and recreate that search every single time that I open up MLS-Touch. I don't want to do that. We did this fairly quickly, but if you put a lot more effort into it, maybe draw a very, very specific area that your client's looking in. Again, you don't want to have to do that every single time. So we have an option here to save this search for future use. So in this case, I'm just going to call this, we'll call this Dwayne's, maybe MLS Touch search, something like that. And that way, again, and I'm going to show you a little bit later on where you can access that, but at least now I know that after all the effort that I put in to create this search, again, I don't have to recreate it every single time that I want to run it again in the future. So now that I've got my 57 results, There's a few different ways that actually I can take a look at this. This is our map way first. Of course, I can, if I'd like, I can go through and just see a list view of all those properties. I personally prefer to keep it on the map. And again, one of the reasons I prefer to do this is I can actually get some additional information about these. Well, not only the properties that I'm looking at, but also the area that I'm looking at as well. So I'm going to zoom in really tight here, and you can see that it's broken down into individual parcels. Now, the reason why it's broken down is because I have my layers turned on for parcel boundaries. So if you select your little layer option, you're going to see some additional layers that you can add. We're not going to go through necessarily all of these, but you can see I've got school, traffic, flood zones, if that's important to you as well, just to, again, layer them on the map. But what I'm interested in is just seeing the parcel boundaries of the different properties. So that's why I have this selected for my layers. And one of the other things I can do, if I am interested in a property, is I can get some additional information about those different boundaries around the property that I'm interested in. So, of course, let's say maybe I'm interested in this property here. I can get the dimensions, and this is also showing me some public record information for that property as well. And this is what I refer to as just essentially walking the block. I get to get a little bit more familiar with the properties that are listed around the property that I'm interested in. Of course, I can do the exact same thing for the property that I'm interested in as well. So if I do want to, let's say, for example, get some more information about that property, all I have to do is open it up and explore it in this capacity. So if, again, I want to take a look at the individual photos, I have a slideshow here, go from one to another. And moving down a little bit more, let's say, for example, this is something we're going to get into a little bit later. I have a share button here as well. Now, I can share it by SMS text. I can share it with email. I can share it with my client. Anyone I'd like to share this with, essentially, I'm able to share that. Now, we're going to get into this in a few moments with MLS Client, but I did mention that there is a sister app to MLS-Touch. And this is an app that you'll share essentially with your clients so that you can communicate back and forth about specific properties. Now, as you see here with my send by SMS text or send by email, I can share this with, again, my prospects or friends or whoever it is that I want to share this property with. I can share this if they don't have the MLS Client app. One of the benefits of encouraging your clients or your prospects to download the MLS Client app is that you can communicate and have a record of all of this communication between you. Now, you can do that with an SMS text, but again, if you do send other texts to that individual, they're going to have to go searching through their MLS texts, through their SMS texts, or they're going to have to go searching through their emails to find those properties that you've been sending them. With the MLS Client app, everything is going to be self-contained in that app. So that's why, again, I encourage you to, if you do have clients or prospects that you'd like to send properties to, I encourage you to encourage them to download the MLS Client app. So in this case, if I did want to send this to my client, Dwayne, well, Dwayne already has the app. And again, we're going to get into that in a few moments here. I can choose to send in a message. Now, of course, at this point, I only have one client that has the app. So I would just select Dwayne, and this is where I send my message. Let's say maybe here is another property, because I've already sent Dwayne a previous property, as you'll see in a moment here. So now it's been sent, and you can see this is a previous property that's sent. So this is essentially just an ongoing chat message between myself and Dwayne. So I'm going to close MLS-Touch here. And again, I already got MLS Client loaded up. Now, there's a couple of different ways that really your clients or prospects can download MLS Client. And one is to receive an invitation from you. So you can actually, and we're going to get into this a little bit later, but just a little bit of a spoiler alert. If you do want to send your clients or prospects an invitation to download the MLS Client app, you can do that from MLS-Touch. And again, we're going to get into that in a few moments. The other way is your clients can be proactive and just go to their Google Play Store or their iTunes Store and do a search for MLS client and download it on their own. So essentially, again, they have two different ways. They can receive an invitation from you, or they can download on their own. However, when they do actually load it up onto their device, they're going to be asked for essentially a passcode, and this is a unique code that identifies them as essentially a client. So they can download it, but they're not able to communicate with you until they actually have that passcode. And this is important because, again, you don't necessarily just want anybody having access to you. This is by invitation only. So in order to prove that there's a relationship between you and this prospect, or you and your client, they'll need that very, very unique code to add to their MLS client app. And that essentially, that little code is what connects you to them and vice versa. So we're going to get into that a little bit later. But again, I just wanted to give you a little bit of history on how it is that they're going to be connecting to you. Now, I've already done that for Dwayne here. So you can see I've got a brand new message from my agent. So I'm just going to open up my agent, and you can see this is the property that he just sent, and this is one that he sent previously. So of course I can respond back to him. Let's say maybe something like just simple thank you. Oops. Thanks. And that's it. So we're going to close that and open up my MLS Touch back again, and you can see, and we'll visit the message that my client sent to me in a few moments here. But just to finish this page off here with the actual property, if let's say, for example, I wanted to maybe do something with this property at a later time, maybe add it to a cart now for my client. And maybe, again, I want to use this in a CMA, or I want to do something more with this property, but I don't want to lose it because, again, I'm going to be looking at a lot of different properties. So I just want to set this aside. Again, if you are familiar with carts, this is an extension of what we see in Matrix. So again, at this point, if I want to add, well, Dwayne doesn't have any carts. So let's say we'll just call it Dwayne's, something very simple, call it Dwayne's cart. And again, if you're familiar in Matrix, we can create multiple carts for a client. In this case, this is just a general catch-all cart that we're creating for Dwayne. But as I referenced a few moments ago, this is synced with Matrix. So what that means is any properties that I add to a cart here inside of MLS Touch, once you're back at the office and you're working with your client, Dwayne, you'll be able to access that property that you added here in MLS Touch back inside of Matrix. So again, that's one of the benefits of, again, using this while you're on the road, is any of the properties that you do find in those searches, you can continue working with when you do get back to the office or back inside of Matrix. Comparables. So if you are familiar with the CMA in Matrix, this is very, very similar. This is allowing you to essentially use this property to run some comparables against. This is, of course, just setting the criteria for those comparables. So in this case, we want to find other properties essentially in the area when I have here within 2 miles, plus or minus 10%, that have maybe recently sold or cast back on or that are on the market. But the bottom line, this is going to show me up to 20 properties that match that those criteria. So of course, you see my subject property here at the very, very top, and up to 20 property comparables down below. And you've already seen this earlier, but if maybe I'm just getting maybe too many properties, I can filter some of those out using the filter. We're not going to get into showing requests. That's third party. But the print, again, if you do want to print this, you can generate maybe a PDF with it if you'd like. Just use the print button for that. Below that, we're just viewing, of course, the map. And again, you can walk the block on this if you'd like. Just again, getting familiar with other properties that are in the neighborhood. Street view, if there is a street view available, you'll be able to generate that from here as well. And directions. Now, In the interest of full disclosure, if you haven't attended any of my other sessions, you may not know I'm actually in Victoria, British Columbia in Canada. So I'm not actually in Bozeman. So if I select directions here, well, we won't spend too much time on it, but this is going to show me, well, you can see exactly where I live. And you can see it's a 15-hour drive. So yeah, not the most efficient route for me necessarily, but if you are local, this is going to show you how to get to that specific property from where you're currently at. Below that, so public remarks. So of course, this is all the information. This is a lot, again, all the public and private information that you may be familiar with back inside of Matrix. So we've pulled that over into MLS-Touch for you as well. Private notes section, I just want to point that out. If there's anything specific about this property that you'd like to maybe just write in a private note, again, keyword being private. If there is something just that you want to remind yourself about, you can add that here. And what I typically do to recommend, if you want to make sure that you have a collection essentially of all of those private notes, is just come up and save this as one of your own personal favorites. Now, when you save it as a favorite here, that's essentially just putting it into your bucket. So that's your favorite. Not necessarily available to anybody else. I'll show you where you can access all those favorites a little bit later. But I typically recommend, if you do write private notes for yourself, just add it as a favorite so you know how to access those notes, or maybe anything else that's important to you about this particular property. Just save it as a favorite. And again, I'll show you a little bit later where you can access that. Realist tax data. Well, this is where Brent Adams really shines. Again, I really encourage you. He's a wealth of information about Realist. So I encourage you to sign up for his session next week. But if you want to get some Realist tax data information for this particular property, we do have a snapshot of some of that information here as well. And mortgage estimator here. This is essentially just a cost calculator. If you do want to see if that property is affordable, maybe for your client at different price points, you can use this cost calculator that's included with every property that you take a look at. MLS documents, of course, right above that. If there are any documents or supplements to be included with the property, you'll find those listed there. And some additional features and facts about the property down below, including the history. All right, so again, I don't want to spend too much more time on that specifically. I do want to jump over to the stats. We're not going to cycle through all of these, but essentially these are just giving you some statistics on market, of course, and sold, off market, et cetera, et cetera. So these are stats running on the 56 results that we're currently looking at. So it's going to show you again for the average number, the number of days, longest days, et cetera, on the MLS. All right, so we're going to jump over to the next, which is the contacts. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Matrix is synced with MLS-Touch in a variety of ways. One of the other ways are with contacts. So any of the contacts that you currently have on the Matrix system are also available for you in MLS-Touch. So you don't have to recreate those. And it works both ways. So if you do add a contact in MLS-Touch, all you're going to have to do is add your information as it's set here. And once you're back inside of Matrix, you'll see that has extended back into the Matrix system. And if you're familiar with Matrix, you'll know that you need your first name of the contact, your last name, and at least one email address for that contact. So those are the essentially the three required pieces of information. So make sure you've got your first name, last name, and a email address for the contact. Now you see here that I've got a 1 beside the contact. That's just telling me that there's some information that my contact has essentially added to, well, especially if they're specifically in their MLS client app. And this is just bringing my attention to the fact that there's new information to be shared. So in this case, we see, well, my contact has added some favorites and some discarded properties. And again, this is also connected with OneHome. So again, if your client adds some favorites or some discarded properties back inside of OneHome, we will see those here as well. So this is, again, a great tool just to be keeping an eye on what my contact's up to, not only over an MLS client back in their app, but also with respect to the One Home portal. Now, drilling through this, we're not going to, most of these are pretty self-explanatory. I do want to get into the sharing my app in a little bit more detail because I referenced this earlier. Now, as I mentioned, your client can be proactive and they can go through and maybe just mention to them on the street, you bump into them and you mention that you've got this great app, MLS client, that they can go and download, or you can send them an invitation. But again, they're anxious to connect with you, so they go and be proactive and they download the app on their own. Well, this is the unique code that they're going to need. So they can download the app, but they're going to need this unique code. So you can either text it to them, or you can just call them and share that. But they're, in this case, for this particular client, you can see it's 544CA43D. So again, when you send that link, this is what they're going to see. Now they may have already downloaded it, but if they haven't, they can just install it from here. But the bottom line is they're going to need that unique code to connect with you. So again, whether you invite them or they proactively download it themselves, just make sure that they've got that code, and that way they're going to be able to connect with you automatically. Now, when they do connect with you, they're going to show up here as a contact. And the other way, and I'm jumping a little bit ahead of myself here, but let me just jump over into, since we're talking about it, there's a little brand and share underneath the more. And you'll see down here, there's the green button at the bottom. It says share my app. So this is, and you're going to see the code here is different than the one that we were just sharing with Dwayne. And the reason for that is every contact, all of your existing contacts have their own unique code. And that's essentially their personal stamp of approval. So you send that to them, and MLS-Touch knows right away that, oh, this is for Dwayne. And so they're automatically approved. This is a unique code. This is a code that I typically recommend that you can add to your email signatures, for example. If you just want to just invite, generally speaking, prospects or anybody for that matter, just to download the MLS Client app, they can use this code here. And when they use this code, again, because it's just more of a generic code, but it's identified with you personally, this is a code that could be shared with absolutely anybody. But MLS-Touch doesn't know who that person is, because again, it's just a general code that can be shared with anybody. As you know now, your contacts all have their own unique code. This is general. So if you do share this, and maybe a prospect or somebody gets a hold of it, maybe somebody you don't even know, maybe it's a contact of yours shared this with a friend of theirs who's interested in buying some property. So they use this code. They're not yet a contact. And when they do use that code, what's going to happen is you're going to see a lead come in. So you see we're back in the contacts section here, and that's why I have this lead here. And in this case, this prospect, Jim, has used that code. I have no idea who Jim is. I can open it up. I can get some information about Jim. Maybe I learn who he is, and I say, oh, okay, well, he's a potential prospect. He's a friend of a friend. But the bottom line is I have to accept them. So at this point, if I select accept, they become a contact, because I've essentially verified them, I've validated them, and now they're actually a contact. And that's because, again, they use that generic code. So let me just wrap that up into one tidy little bow here. All of your contacts will have a unique code that you can share with them. So if there's a contact that doesn't have the MLS Client app yet, and you want to send that out to them, all you have to do is open up the contact, open up Share My App, and you can see here they've got their own very, very unique code, and you can send it by email, you can send it by SMS text. But the bottom line is this code is very, very unique to this specific contact. If you want to share the MLS Client app with just generally anybody, not specifically a contact, just come into the brand and share, and then you can use the generic one. And again, this is connected with you. and you can send that to absolutely anybody, but they're going to have to be validated or verified by you before they become a contact. And again, you'll see them in the leads here. All right, so we're going to jump over to members. So essentially, this is just a roster. So if you are looking for specific members, very quickly, here's your search for those members. Just add their, just do a search up top. So just start typing in, and I'm just going to select a random one here. I don't know if anybody here specifically, but this is a great resource if you want to see maybe the properties, the on-market properties for maybe a specific member. Just open it up, and there's none here, obviously. But if there's a member that you know has some properties that you just want to get to very quickly, just open up the roster, do a search for that member, and then check out their on-market listings here. All right, so moving on to the more section. So this is where we get into, well, some configuration for the MLS-Touch application as well as some other features. This is the safe searches. Now, you're going to see this as we go back to the dashboard a little bit later, but I'll show you here. As I mentioned on the dashboard, it's really just for quick access, so you don't have to do as many clicks necessarily. So I'm going to do safe searches, and you'll notice here that I've got my MLS-Touch search that I created at the very beginning of this presentation. So again, if you do want to generate some search results very quickly, you don't have to go through the process of adding your search criteria every single time. Just add it once, and then you can save that, and it will be listed under your MLS-Touch searches. Now, you also see on this tab, Matrix. So what we've done is we've imported all of the saved searches that you've created back inside of Matrix. So let's say, just as an example, you can see here that I've created a search back inside of Matrix called Dwayne's Saved Matrix Search. And this is a search that I typically run when I'm logged into Matrix on my desktop or my laptop computer. And because I'm on the road, obviously it's a lot more convenient if I don't have to recreate that search that I created in Matrix. So we've imported all those over, and I'm able to again run them from MLS-Touch. Now, unfortunately, at this point, it doesn't work both ways. This MLS-Touch search that I created earlier is not yet available inside of Matrix. Just a little bit of backstory. MLS-Touch is fairly new to the CoreLogic family. So what we're doing right now is we're essentially adding these integrations. So out of the box, MLS-Touch didn't have so much integration with Matrix. So the integration that it does have currently has all been built into it. So this is just essentially part of the development process for us. So at this point, MLS-Touch searches that you've created in the app are not yet available inside of Matrix for you to use. But it does work the other way. If you have created a search inside of Matrix, as you can see here, that search is available in MLS-Touch for you. Below that, just a collection of your specific properties on the system. I, of course, don't have any to show you, but this is where you'd see them listed here. And you saw this earlier, just a collection of, under members, just a collection of the roster inside of MLS-Touch. We saw this earlier with specific property. This is just another access to the calculator. So again, if you do want to see if the property is affordable at different price points, you can jump right to the calculator from the more section, or you can use the in listing calculator as part of the each property. And just some information about MLS-Touch. We're getting into the configuration. I'm going to jump over brand and share. I'll come back to that and leave that for the end. With Facebook Publishing Tool, I don't actually have Facebook. I'm not able to show you this, but this is for Facebook business accounts. So it's a pretty cool tool if you do have a Facebook business account. It's a little outside the scope of what we're talking about today as far as Facebook is concerned. But what it does is if you do have a Facebook business account, this allows you to upload your properties to that business account. And the cool thing about this is it automatically updates those that listing for you. So if it does change in status, or let's say, for example, the price changes, you don't have to go and do that manually. It's automatically done through this Facebook publishing tool. So it's a simple step-by-step procedure. If you go through it, again, just all you have to do is you'll connect your Facebook business account to this, and just follow the steps, and it will again automatically update your listing information as it changes in real time. Third-party integrations. This is we talked about this earlier as well. Just essentially where Matrix and OneHome are synced with MLS-Touch. But we'll go over these again just really quickly. If for any reason you want to disable any of these, can't imagine why you would, but if you do want to, feel free to just come into this section here and disable them. As I mentioned, contacts are synced, so all of your contacts in Matrix are going to be brought over into MLS-Touch, and vice versa. The client portal syncs, we went over that as well with the favorites and the discarded properties. If your client is favoriting and discarding properties in OneHome, you will see a collection of those underneath the contacts here inside of MLS-Touch. As well, as you saw, any favorites or discarded properties that they've added in MLS Client, their app, will also be visible in MLS-Touch as well. Safe searches, again, we just went over that. All of your safe searches from Matrix are imported into MLS-Touch for you to use. However, the MLS-Touch searches that you've created and saved here are not yet available inside of Matrix. Carts sync, we saw that as well. So any carts that you create here inside of MLS-Touch are going to be available for you inside of Matrix, and vice versa. So if you have created carts for your clients in Matrix, you'll be able to see those and add to those here in MLS-Touch as well. And the OneHome branding and sharing, as I mentioned, we're going to save this just for a couple of moments here, but this is essentially allowing you to brand your OneHome, your client's OneHome application according to your branding standards. So we're going to jump into that just now. So this is essentially where you can enable or disable that syncing. Again, can't imagine why you'd want to disable it, but it is there for you if you'd like to. Just some technical support, again, options, and if you want to follow us on social media, et cetera, et cetera. Sending feedback, help center, and privacy policy, and of course, if you want to log out of this MLS-Touch session. So what I wanted to get to and sort of leave for the last on this particular section is the brand and share option here. So we saw this just a few moments ago with the sharing of the app. So we're not going to go over that again. Hopefully that all made sense to you. I want to maybe just focus a little bit more on the branding. So if you've ever logged into, if you logged into Matrix and you've sent properties to your client, as you know, they've got a OneHome account. It's essentially a portal that allows them to view all of the properties that that you sent them. And we actually did a session on OneHome yesterday. So if you weren't able to see that, maybe you're brand new and you haven't actually been exposed to OneHome yet, the recorded video is available for you in the recorded webinar section. But I encourage you to go and take a look at that, and you'll see that there's a default branding to OneHome that absolutely everybody gets, again, by default. If you would like to include your own branding instead of the default OneHome branding, sort of a turquoise color, instead of that as the default branding, you'd like to use your own, this is where you can set it up. And in addition to actually to branding the client's OneHome application, you're also branding your client's MLS client application. And this is the one that I showed you here. In fact, if I jump here, let's actually just close that here, and I'll open that up again in a few moments here. So we're going to open up MLS Client, and you're going to see exactly how updating the branding has affected the MLS Client, and in turn, we'll also update the OneHome application for your client as well. So you'll notice here that I've got some presets. So if you work for a specific brokerage that is included in these presets, then of course you can just go through and select whatever brokerage that is. So let's say, just as an example, I'm working with Remax. So I'm going to select Remax, and you can see the branding now changes based on whichever brokerage that I choose. I'll choose another one here. Let's say maybe it's Keller Williams, let's say. Right, and you can see it changes there. So this is just more of a quick pick for you. So if you do have, again, one of those brokerages that you're involved with, just feel free to pick it from the presets. Of course, if you have your own brokerage or your own office that you'd like to use, you can do that as well. So here, we're not going to select it, but just select the select button here, and that's going to allow you to do a search on your mobile device for whatever branding option that you have. So maybe you have a logo stored in your photos. Maybe you've got maybe it's a photo of yourself. Whatever it is that you'd like to add to where in this case, where the Keller Williams logo is, if you do have that available on your mobile device, you would just select the select button and it would be added. Again, as far as your colors go, this is why we pre-populate it, because it can get a little finicky if you're trying to match your maybe branded office. So if you don't have, like I say, those specific colors, you're just going to have to really essentially just move these toggles around until you actually get it to exactly what you'd like it to appear. So something like that. Primary color is like too bright. Okay, so I want to go something a little bit darker. Anyway, so the bottom line is just feel free to move those around and get it to whatever color specifications that you'd like to use. When you do have it set, just select the preview, and you can see what this is actually going to look like in your client's email and when your client looks at a property. So in this case here, I'll do a couple of these here. Let's do the preview of the listing layout, so you can see again your color scheme has now been incorporated with this. And previewing the email, when they receive an email, your color scheme will be incorporated with that, with whatever logo that you chose to include. So I'm going to go back to Remax, right? And you can see it automatically resets everything. So I'm good with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set my colors and my logo. So now it's been set. So as I mentioned earlier, when my client opens up their One Home portal, they're going to see, instead of the default One Home branding, that turquoise color, they're going to see the branded colors for Remax. So everywhere where it says, in this case, One Home, back inside of One Home, it's going to say Remax now, and it's going to have those branded colors instead of the turquoise. And as I mentioned, when my client does open up One MLS Client, they're going to see my brand, in this case, Remax. All right, so we're going to jump back to our dashboard, and really quickly, just before we end, I just want to go over these tiles and show you again. Some of these you've already seen just when we went through the main menu at the bottom. But of course, we have the map search. This is essentially the exact same thing as if I were to do a search using the main menu at the bottom. So either way, depending on how I want to get there. Advanced search, very, very similar. It's just got some different criteria that I can choose from. So depending on which criteria that you want to use, but the bottom line is they both generate search results. So whether you want to use the map, whether you want to use the advanced search, either one. Maybe you have just a string of MLS numbers that you want to punch in. So this is, of course, where you're going to be able to do that. So you have up to 10 MLS numbers that you can search. Save searches, again, we've already seen that. This is just quick access to those save searches, so you don't have to go through the more option. My favorites. So if you remember earlier, I set a favorite for myself. More specifically, it was for maybe a private note that I've written. I don't want to lose track of that property. So of course, this is where I see a collection of those properties that I saved as a favorite. So again, if I did write a private note, I have quick access to that private note here. And if you do want to remove anything from the from your favorites, again, these are your own personal favorites. Nobody else sees these. If I do want to remove it, all I have to do is deselect that, and then it's gone. Below that is hot sheets. So again, if you're familiar with hot sheets in Matrix, this works the exact same way. In Matrix, essentially a hot sheet is to show you activity in the system, whether that's maybe price changes or status changes. You can run them for specific areas. You can see all these different statuses that we can see. So again, works the exact same way, and we can see all of that activity up to 30 days. So again, runs exactly the same as within Matrix if you are familiar with that. Now, of course, if I do want to change my property types, I've got it set to residential right now because, again, I'm really just interested in seeing the changes for residential properties. And of course, I've got my locations. So I've got up to all of my locations here that I've set. You can change them, but I've got, I think, 10 here that I've set. So if you want to see any specific status or price changes in these specific areas, so I've got it all set. And you can see that in the last 5 days, I've got 16 properties that are active. Pending properties, sold properties, these have all had changes. All the price increases. Well, there's been 2 properties in those areas for residential properties that have had a price change. So I want to see those properties. So the bottom line is, if you're not familiar with Hotsheet, it's really just showing me activity in the system for a certain time frame. And again, I choose my time frame, how far back I want to see that activity for. And again, which statuses I want to see that activity for here. And the very last tile is the InstaView. Now, unfortunately, again, as you know, I am in Canada and I'm not able to show you this, but what InstaView is, this is actually a cool little feature that will allow you to immediately find property information based on your location. So here's a scenario. You're driving and you see maybe there's a property up for sale. Think it's kind of interesting. So you pull up in front of the property. Well, instead of doing a search for that property on MLS-Touch, what you can do is you can just select InstaView and it uses your GPS to immediately locate that property information. So it pulls up that property information right away for you. And again, I can't actually demo this because I'm too far away, so I'm not able to demo it. But again, I encourage you to test that out when you're driving around and you want to get some information on a specific property. Just pull up right in front of the property, and I think it's got a range of, if I remember correctly, it's just a couple of feet. I think you only have to be a couple of feet away from the property, and select InstaView, and it will immediately pull up that information. And that's it. So again, I wanted to just high level, again, MLS-Touch is, as you can see, just more of a companion app to Matrix. The functionality that you typically use in Matrix, like the CMA building, the statistics, all of those reports, essentially, that's all generally meant for the MLS system as a whole. MLS-Touch is more meant for agents that are on the go, agents that are on the move that would like to do searches while they're on the road and essentially do some of those other tasks that we went through. But it's essentially a great companion app to the Matrix system. And again, if you do have clients that you're communicating with, I really do encourage you to encourage them to download the MLS client app so you can have this essentially communication tool between you two, and they don't have to go searching through their email or through their SMS text messages specifically for those properties that you're communicating about. So again, thank you very much for joining, everyone. I will be rendering this video and uploading it later on this afternoon, so you can keep an eye out on it for on the Matrix dashboard, or again directly from the help section. So thanks to Brent as well for answering any questions that have come through in the background. And again, I really encourage you to jump in on to Brent's session next week for Realist Tax Program. All right, everyone. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.